EA gives us a tasty look at all the work they've been putting into Skate. Arcane serves up some more details on Redfall. And I've got some thoughts on Outriders, Worldslayer, and my reviews of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge and Obi-Wan Kenobi. All that and the latest and everything cool today in The Rundown. Hey, welcome to The Rundown. My name is Victor Lucas, and I'm so happy to see you here in the Electric Playground. Today's episode is going out to Coolio, who says, looking forward to your review of the new PlayStation Plus. Been a fan since the days with Tommy and every other host that has been on the show. Thanks for so many years of great content. I can honestly say it's a main reason why I still play games to this day. That's a very kind thing to say, Coolio. Thank you so much. I've been playing a lot of PlayStation Plus premium content, playing some classic PS1, PS2, and PS3 games. I streamed some the other day, actually. I had a lot of fun with that. So I'll come back with some thoughts very soon. But right now, let's take a look at Skate. I always love it when developers give us a look behind the curtain on the games that they've been developing, and Skate, developed by the Full Circle team over at Electronic Arts, is looking pretty damn good. I like that they had some rough corners and some rough elements they showed off. They showed the game crashing and all kinds of collisions and weird kind of animation cycles and stuff with the characters that we're going to be able to customize and create and kind of live in the skin and clothes of when the full game is finished. But they also gave us a nice little glimpse of kind of target renders and some of the visual fidelity and the look and feel of this game, which looks pretty damn cool. It was accompanied by a pretty fantastic little sound piece in there and great narration. It totally evokes a sense of community and of like we're all in this together, and it gets you feeling like we want to support the development of this thing, so it ends up being a fully fleshed celebration of the whole Skate idea. Skate was always an awesome kind of counterpoint to the more arcadey and over-the-top antics of the Tony Hawk games, which are also incredible. Skate felt a lot more grounded and a lot more down to earth, but, you know, obviously this is a video game, so there's going to be some interesting new elements with height and taking some massive ramps and pulling off some crazy stunts. You want to feel, I think, in a video game, even if it's a simulation, that you can extend outward a little bit and have that sort of fantasy fulfillment. And I think that's what's going to be delivered here with the brand new Skate. We don't know when it's coming out. We don't know what EA's next marketing push or plans are with this, but I like these out of nowhere drops that we're getting on this game. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to me, and I'm curious about the way that they're going to monetize this. I don't know if they're going to have it as a full-fledged purchase price experience, or maybe they are looking at this as some kind of community-based, free-to-play type world that they're crafting. Because it looks like the streets of San Van Amsterdam are going to be very crowded, and I think that's exactly what EA is planning on and what Full Circle is developing for. I think they're trying to build something that brings everybody into the sport. It does look cool to me. I want to hear your thoughts, though. What do you think of EA's new look at Skate? All right, let's shift our focus over and talk about our new look at Redfall. Anytime the developers over at Arcane who made Dishonored and Prey are working on something new, it has my attention. Redfall has a great premise. It's you and three buddies up against a squad or an army of vampires. You've got different abilities within your team. You've got a sniper, you've got a kind of more technically proficient character, you've got a vampire hunter who has the spikes in the ground and lightning attacks and things like that. And then you also have more of a supernatural character that has some psychokinetic abilities as well. And then you're squaring off against a whole collection of different types of vampires with different abilities and different attacks, but always with that bloodthirst as they come after you. Visuals look really damn cool, stylized like we've come to expect from a lot of the Arcane stuff. I like the idea of vampires as the villain. We've done zombies to death, and vampires are chilling and crafty and intelligent and conniving, and I think there's going to be some shape-shifting and some really interesting elements in here. The game takes place on this island that has been just overwhelmed and overrun by all of these vampires, and you can play the game alone, but it really looks like they tuned this and have sort of set up the platform to invite some pals over and evoking some of the good times we've had playing games like Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood. It looks like it's going to be a lot more fun to play it with pals. But I'm also curious to test this out alone because, of course, Arcane has done some excellent story-driven single-player experiences. Redfall looks fantastic. I am also totally cool with the fact that they delayed it They want this to be a home run. It's an Xbox game that's going to be a part of Game Pass. Likely this is going to be exclusive for a while on Xbox and PC. And God, it looks good to me. I am very excited by Redfall. We're in the early opening stages of the marketing blast that we're going to get around this game, and we're going to get a lot more stuff peeled back, and we're going to see a lot more of the incredible ambition of this title, which is what I expect out of Arcane. This company's made fantastic games for us in the past, and that's exactly what I'm expecting out of Redfall. All right, another cooperative shooter has just been expanded today. Outriders Worldslayer is out there. Let's take a look at that. Last night, I actually booted up the PlayStation 5 version of Outriders Worldslayer and played some with Bear Safi. We got online and played some co-op together, and we're chatting the whole time. It was great to catch up with him. And the game is really tuned to play with friends. I beat the Outriders story campaign pretty much by myself. I did play a little bit of cooperative stuff in there, but I basically plowed through it. I wanted to see the story, and I didn't really dig the story of the game. It just felt dumber when I beat the original Outriders. I love the aesthetic, and I love the feel of the game, though, and I was compelled to just keep playing and playing and playing. There is definitely an addictive hook with the way that Outriders plays, and I felt that again as Bear and I dug into some of the Worldslayer campaign. Now, we set it up so that Bear started from scratch in Worldslayer, and I think we did it wrong, because as I've been digging into the story of this game a little bit, there is a way to kind of level up and start fresh and have some power-ups. But Bear was severely underpowered, and he was just getting wiped out. So we actually played some of the original story campaign and leveled up a little bit for him. So we were both kind of capable and ready to match up against some of the tougher enemies in Worldslayer. You start off in this frozen tundra, and you fight a giant, massive kind of snow beast, and all these goons and other creatures that keep popping up out of the snow, and it's quite stark and cool looking. And then we went to this fishing village kind of area and fought against these demonic fisher characters with some cool power-ups, some cool mini-bosses, and it gave us a kind of chilling environment to explore, desolate, and lots of interesting architecture to scamper around in and roll away from enemy fire in. It was a lot of fun. But you know what? At the Summer Game Fest Play Days event that I was at not too long ago, I got a good chance to speak with one of Outriders Worldslayer's developers. Let's take a look.
I'm Sven. I'm the creative visual designer working on Outriders. Basically making sure everything looks sweet and awesome that leaves our door to show you guys, or basically the rest of the world. It's so hard to establish a new IP, a new franchise, or even to get the honor to work on something new, to create a new universe, and create a new story, create these characters. It's just amazing, yeah. We did a stage presentation earlier, and had a guy coming up to me, and he showed me his trickster tattoo. Like, how better can it get? Yeah, it's amazing. It's called Outriders Worldslayer. What we did is actually, we looked at everything that people liked about the original game, and we really honed in on that, and we expanded on that, and we basically turned the knob to 11 on everything. So we have a brand new story campaign that players can enjoy with a pretty nasty villain called Ereshkigal. She's at the center, all of that. And then we have a brand new M game called The Trials of Tarja Kratar, which is something completely new, and I hope players will really enjoy. So The Trials of Tarja Kratar is, first of all, not only a grindhouse, but it continues the story from the campaign a little bit more. And it's basically a run through a gauntlet. So it's designed to do it in one sitting, but rather than an expedition, which is around 15 minutes or so, we target around 2 to 3 hours for one go, right? And the intention is to, well, first of all, for people that are really invested in the story and characters, there's a lot to find there as well. But there's also an opportunity to really get this awesome loot, to really create these awesome characters, and yeah, make you badass, essentially. It's a very different approach to the story that we had in the original game. Because the original game was about, okay, humanity screwed Earth, and we need to find a new place to live, or essentially preserve our species, right? So you come to this new planet, things didn't quite turn out as expected, and it's more about the exploration of this new environment that you're dealing with, right? And with Worldslayer, we have actually a face to a villain, and she's called Ereshkigal. She's the leader of the insurgents, and she has very different plans to what will happen in the future, and you might not agree with that. Yeah. We have something that's called the mod system, right? It's like it has slots on your weapon. The original game had 2 slots, and with Worldslayer we introduced actually a 3rd mod slot. So you essentially can change how your weapon works or how your gear works in various ways. So let's say for the Devastator, we have a legendary armor set. It's called the Concussioner. And what it does, it has this awesome move. It has a melee attack, and like when you sprint, he jumps up and he hits the floor. But with this mod, like you jump up, you have to hit your golem skin first, but you jump up and then a second doppelganger of you spawn, and you have two dudes coming at you, hitting you really hard. And it's just like this really crazy stuff that we wanted to do.
There's a reckoning coming.
It was really cool speaking with Sven. He's a super nice guy, and I'm so happy for the developers of People Can Fly. They're enjoying that people are playing this game all over the world, and Outriders has become this new franchise, which is really cool for the studio. All right, let's take a look at my review of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Disney and Lucasfilm have been delivering all kinds of cool episodes of Star Wars to Disney+, but Obi-Wan Kenobi was absolutely the highest profile project headed to the streaming platform. I've watched all 6 episodes, as have you and most of the world out there, most of the galaxy out there, and I came away from the show with a smile on my face and lots to love about it, but it is certainly not a show that is absent problems or issues or some silly steps along the way. And I think most of them have to do with the fact that this was a television show. This wasn't a feature film, and I think it absolutely makes sense to argue that the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi was deserving of, if not a film, at least the budget of a film in his tale. And this is a pretty spectacular story to tell. This really does a lot to connect dots and to kind of fill in mysteries and things that we would wonder about as Star Wars fans, like what happens to Obi-Wan Kenobi after Order 66, and how does he end up on Tatooine overseeing Luke Skywalker to make sure that he's okay, and what's his mental state knowing that all of the Jedi around him have been wiped out and he's basically alone in the galaxy trying to preserve the flicker, the flame that might still exist to bring the Jedi back to life. And some pretty heavy stuff. I mean, the show makes no bones about it. This is a dark period for this character and for this time of righteousness in the Star Wars galaxy. So the show does a good job at getting inside of Obi-Wan Kenobi's headspace, and to see him kind of beaten down and just doing the same routine in his day-to-day life. And then, of course, he gets called to action. There are still existing Jedi out there, and they're being hunted by Inquisitors. And there's some really interesting characters brought up in there. Reva, played by Moses Ingram, is power hungry, and she's got all kinds of motives behind her rush to hunt the Jedi and to kill the Jedi. I loved Rupert Friend's Grand Inquisitor. He was deliciously evil with incredible makeup, and these Inquisitors all have very cool lightsabers as well. I also love Sung Kang's Inquisitor, who never spoke in more than a harsh whisper. And it was cool to see them, hitting the streets of Tatooine and hunting down remaining Jedi and stringing them up and scaring the hell out of everybody out there. But of course, this was the show that had the apparatus to bring Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi together again, and to go through the experience of their last duel, their last face-off in Revenge of the Sith, and what that meant and what their headspaces were as they kind of came together. And Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are just unbelievable in their performances, and they have epic moments, epic fights, epic head-to-head sequences that get gruesome and heavy, but beautifully crafted. But around this epic head-to-head is a series that felt smaller and more contained. And I didn't really have a problem with any of those elements when we were on Tatooine, but when we went to Castle Inquisitorius and we saw more of the Empire's kind of bases and places, they just felt very empty to me in comparison to the shots that we've seen of the Empire in previous Star Wars lore. It just felt like there were just a handful of extras walking around. And then there were also kind of silly elements like Leia being put under Obi-Wan's coat, and they're just going to escape this base filled with all kinds of enemies as they're walking to their spaceship. It just felt a little too silly. And we also see Tala, played by Indira Varma, push over a stormtrooper just by kind of slapping the stormtrooper on the helmet. And that just felt a little bit like a fan film for me. There were just moments in the show show where you really kind of felt the budget and the constraints that the filmmakers were up against. They just couldn't make this as big and elaborate as other Star Wars experiences have been. That kind of took me out of it a little bit. You know, I was constantly aware of the use of the volume and trying to keep the scheduling and the budget kind of on track to tell these stories. It's not something that I'm really used to with the sort of core lore of Star Wars. I did get used to it with The Mandalorian. I felt that it was really constrained with the Book of Boba Fett because they were talking about some really grand storytelling in that series as well, and you could always feel the ceiling on how far they could go with things. And I felt it again, I think, in a grander sense here with Obi-Wan, because we're visiting Alderaan and we're seeing Jimmy Smits. And honestly, there's this kind of silly fight that we see between Owen and Beru against Reva on Tatooine in the homestead that Luke Skywalker grows up in, and it just looked very soundstagey. It just looked like they had like 6 feet of space to kind of jump around and run around in, and I don't know, it just felt so confined, and I wanted the show to kind of expand out a little bit. Also, I loved Vivian Lyra Blair's performance of Princess Leia, this young, precocious 10-year-old princess. You can absolutely see the Carrie Fisher echoes through her role and her work, but physically it just felt a little strange sometimes that she could run away at will from, you know, larger characters and more supposedly menacing characters. It felt a little too kindergarten for me, those kinds of sequences, and a little too precious, and I wanted there to be a little bit more believability, a little bit more menace in those moments. And those are mostly my quibbles with this. I liked Reva, I liked her motivation, I liked her action sequences in those beats, I loved the duels that we got between Vader and Kenobi, I loved Ewan McGregor's soulful performance, I love the beautiful, touching moments between Leia and Obi-Wan. It really moved me. The echoes of that as we go into A New Hope and the video message that she gives to Luke Skywalker to find Obi-Wan, it resonates, you know, it just really helps to make those moments resonate. So overall, I really love the story of Obi-Wan, and I love the performance of it and the commitment to it. I guess I just wanted more flash, more Star Wars sizzle, you know? And I know that this was a specific choice. I talked with Deborah Chow, the director of the show, to make this feel a lot more intimate and personal and not like a big Star Wars movie. And I get the decision there, but I feel like these characters and these moments kind of deserved a bigger celebration, you know, a more budget, a bigger stage. And I don't know if that could have been achieved as a theatrical presentation, or maybe the budget for all 6 episodes should have been shrunk down to like a 2 or 3 hour experience on Disney Plus. But I did feel a little underwhelmed by the way that this was produced. Not the look of it, not the aesthetics of it, not the camera choices of it. I liked the honesty of the moments of it. I just wanted to feel the larger galaxy and the resonance of Obi-Wan's decisions and Obi-Wan's battles with Darth Vader to feel mightier and meatier, like we have in previous Star Wars confrontations with these characters. But I did really, really dig this series. I thought it was very cool, and I came away satisfied, and I also came away wanting more from these characters and this work. But honestly, I think if there is going to be more, it should be a film. It shouldn't be another 6 episodes. I think they should just say, okay, we're going to have another final confrontation with these characters before we get into the Skywalker saga again, but we're going to celebrate that. Or maybe it's a totally different side adventure for Obi-Wan Kenobi, because the character is so cool and he's so freaking powerful in this series as well, which I loved. But yes, I came away entertained and I enjoyed Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. It was a game that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and finally it is in our hot little hands. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge from Tribute, published by Dotemu, and both of these companies really wanted to honor this property and also our memories of the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles experiences that we had back in the day, and I could not be happier with how Shredder's Revenge came together. I played all the way through it on the Steam Deck. I streamed a bunch. I had members from the EPN community come and join me, and we had a blast playing together. This is a game that's really, really meant to be shared with other people, to play it either on the couch together or to play it online together. But the more people that you can get, and there's 6 people that can play at the same time, the more fun it's going to be. Also, the more insane it gets, because it gets really difficult to discern exactly which of the 4 Turtles or Casey Jones or April O'Neil or Splinter you may be on the playfield, beating up all of these Foot Clan characters and the robots that you'll encounter and all of these awesome boss fights that you'll get into. But it's so fun, and because the chaos just puts a smile on your face, it doesn't really matter that it gets a little confusing. I can tell you, though, that the animation and the art style and the sprite work, the pixel precision, the details in this game are just breathtaking, just absolutely beautiful. I also adore the soundtrack to the game. There's some excellent chip tunes in there. There's some full-on retro 90s kind of rap music cutting into the insanity of the game. Of course, you get some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme music popping into this madness as well. And man, it is just joy. It is just absolute joy. Now, I will say that, you know, playing stuff with this kind of sprite work and this retro pixel stuff isn't for everybody out there, and I recognize that. I think there's a lot of gamers that have said, look, we've moved on. We've gotten closer to photoreal with polygons and texture detail and stuff, and why are we making games that take us so far back? And if you look at this game compared to Turtles in Time or something like that, or Hyperstone Heist, clearly there's a massive kind of leap forward in technology, and you're not going to see all kinds of flickering and slowdown and stuff like that. But it sits shoulder to shoulder with the best of what Konami and other companies were able to do with sprites on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis and platforms like that back in the day. But for me, this is just absolute sheer candy. It's joy, you know? I've really fallen in love with side-scrolling superheroes, so much so that I've made about 50 or so videos talking about side-scrolling superhero video games, and I've had so much fun putting that together. So when I saw this resurgence, not only with this, but the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection that we're going to get pretty soon, it just fills me with glee, you know? It's just so cool. It's like people are listening. We love this style of gameplay. It's a brawler, it's a beat 'em up, there are some vehicle sequences, but you know what you're going to get into. If you've ever played one of these types of games before, you know what you're going to get into. There's some hidden elements to kind of find, and of course you're earning power-ups and you're leveling up your characters as you go and gaining new abilities, so there's lots of stuff to unlock, and each of the characters has their own tree, their own level up tree that you want to go and explore and collect, so there's lots of replayability in this. It's not an especially long game, but every level and every stage is just filled with so much cool detail and beautiful, precise moments that you'll be totally happy re-experiencing them and enjoying them again and again. Now, I played this on the Steam Deck. It ran beautifully. I've played it on the Nintendo Switch OLED, and it just looks incredible on the OLED screen. I've played it on the PlayStation. I haven't checked it out on the Xbox Series X yet, but I know it's going to run beautifully there. And I really do hope that there's either a sequel or some DLC or more of this style of game coming, because for my money, this is one of the best and most satisfying game experiences that I've had this year. I hoped that it would be, and it has achieved those hopes and those expectations. I love this freaking game. I can't recommend it enough. And it doesn't honestly matter what platform you play it on, you're going to get a fantastic experience. I'm going to give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge a 9 out of 10. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown today. Thank you so much for joining me, and make sure that you're also following our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/EPN. I stream there all the time. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. Thank you especially to all of our channel members. You guys rock. We'll see you soon, and until then, play forever.